Welcome into another edition of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Brendan Ayuk is tweeting out tape film, or is it on TikTok? Some numbers about training camp. And has Kyle Shanahan beat the comeback allegations? We'll talk about it right now. I'm Jason Aponte. That is Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network, the only podcast that is in the best shape of its life all year round. Steph, how are you? How was your 4th of July?
I'm good, man. It was great. I flew out to the Bay, visited family. It was a nice little reset and all that. But how was yours?
It was good. I took Averly to Yankee Stadium for the July 3rd fireworks. The team stinks, but the fireworks were great. So that was pretty cool. Let me ask you this. Are fireworks overrated? Because she had a blast, but me, I could really care less.
I like fireworks. I've seen people have this discussion that like drones. You've seen those, right? The drone shows. That's a thing now.
Those are cool.
I've seen people say like those are better, than fireworks. Fireworks are overrated. I don't know. Like, there's nothing quite like fireworks, but once you've seen a few of them, it's like, okay, I've seen them all. I will say that, maybe, America just needs to step up their fireworks game because the ones in Disneyland, for example, are incredible. Like, I love that they have designs and all that. I'm sure the ones in like China are off the hook. Like, I need to see some of those to really get a feel for true fireworks. But yeah, like the ones that you see at typical 4th of July show, like those are like you can leave before the finale, I think.
The thing is, my problem is not that you're shooting off fireworks on July 4th. My problem is it's July 5th and 6th, and there's fireworks still going off in my neighborhood. Now, I don't live in a bad neighborhood, but we do have this fun little game of, was that fireworks or was that a gunshot?
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun, I guess. But yeah, it's just July 5th, July 6th. Wrap it up. Wrap it up already. It's over. It's over. It's 4th of July that day, and that's it. Now, I do want to say this. The one thing that I feel like this holiday is missing is where the damn barbecues. I didn't get invited to any barbecues, and everybody's just like, I'm not doing a barbecue. I'm just like, where are the barbecues? Invite me. I'm hungry. I need food.
It's hot as hell though. Like it is hot as hell. It was hot as hell on 4th of July too. And so I don't blame people for not wanting to be outside, not wanting to do a barbecue. I did have myself a dog, on the 4th, and that was nice. It was a kamikaze hot dog, which is like a little Asian fusion hot dog. It was good. It was
glizzy?
Kamikaze glizzy, man. Yeah.
Last thing I will say about this. What do you put on your hot dog?
I'm not a mustard person. I'm not a mustard. I hate mustard. I hate relish, pickles.
Yeah. Mustard should only be only on the beet.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that took you a minute. But go ahead. So what
I thought you were talking about beets, the vegetables, and I was
nope.
no.
Mustard on a beet. Help.
No, I keep it simple. I really only put like mayo and ketchup.
Mayo? You psychopath.
What? I don't
mayo on a hot dog?
I just said I don't put mustard. So why? Yeah.
Well, I've got an even more controversial take. I know what you're about to say.
No, I was just gonna say that ketchup and mayo go really well together.
Mayo is insane. I thought Long Legs. I thought Long Legs is a movie about a serial killer, but this show has turned into something about a serial killer, and it's you.
You guys are acting like I'm putting mayo in my coffee. Like I just said that. Like I'm Will Levis over here. I'm just putting on my hot dog.
I'm gonna shield the slander for you because I'm about to say something that's gonna gain me all the slander. I don't eat hot dogs with anything on it.
Yo, raw dog in the glizzy?
Naked glizzy in the bun and dog only. That's it. Nothing. Bun and dog. That's
nasty.
It.
That's nasty work.
All right.
Do you ever get the dogs like on the side of the street with like the water, the ones that they just have in the water?
Oh, so you talking about in New York, the dirty water dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. No, the ones that are the best are the ones in Cali that they wrap the bacon in and
Oh
everything
yeah,
like
the street
outside. Yeah,
dogs.
those are incredible. Those are incredible. Um, Made me feel a lot better walking out of the NFC Championship after the 49ers lost, eating one of those. It was really
Yeah,
good, man.
bacon wrap. Yep.
All right. So, no 49ers show wouldn't be complete without talking about Brandon Ayuk. And this time, Brandon Ayuk is taking to TikTok. Not Twitter, not Instagram, this time TikTok. And he's tweeting out pictures of him watching Washington Commanders film. The first thing I want to ask Steph, and I don't know if you know, but I guess it's just a hypothetical. Is that not like against the rules?
That's what I was wondering.
Mhm.
I was like immediately as I saw that, I was like, someone has to investigate this, right?
Mhm.
Like how is a player from another team that's currently on another team getting practice film? And it was like current practice film. It wasn't from like last year or something like that. You see
Yeah,
Jaden
because Jaden
Daniels in the
Daniels is
screenshot.
there now.
Yeah.
He wasn't there last year.
So like that seems like a concern. Not for the 49ers. I mean, I'm sure the 49ers could really care less, honestly. But if I'm the Washington Commanders, I'm like, yo, what is a player of another team doing with our film?
Right.
That's crazy.
So a few OTAs back, Diamador Lenore posted a clip of him, putting clamps on Austin Watkins, and it wound up costing the 49ers an OTA session. They had to cancel one early. I believe it was not mistaken, like 3 years ago. So I'm interested to figure out like what this means in terms of how another player from another team can tweet out or send out a TikTok watching the Washington Commanders. I I thought that was the first thing that came to my mind, right? Like
Yeah.
all the other stuff
Me too.
aside and all the panic aside, based on whatever. Oh my God, he's watching Commanders film. He gone. That's the first thing that came to my mind. So I'm wondering what that is going to entail, and like Adam Peters can't be happy with that, right?
I wouldn't think so. And I would not be happy with my rookie quarterback if, he was just handing out some of our film all willy nilly like that. So I would assume there have to be some type of investigation either internally with the commanders or like I don't know if the NFL is going to get involved. But yeah, I'm surprised. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it from that angle. Everyone's just talking, oh, like he wants to be a commander so bad. Like I don't think people are realizing just the I guess the magnitude of what he did there that could actually get people, maybe even teams in trouble.
Now, to the ramifications about the 49ers and the contract negotiations, let me state this as clearly as possible in my best Mike Tomlin voice. We do not care. Steph, I've really gotten to the point that I don't care about this anymore. And I like, we literally, before we got on here, is I don't care what
Yeah.
happens now, as long as something happens. I don't
Yeah.
care anymore.
I just want a resolution because like I am tired of this, like just the antics. And I've seen like people officially say like, okay, now I think Brandon Ayuk's antics have surpassed
That,
Debo Samuel's.
that was the straw that broke the camel's back, tweeting out Washington Commanders film. Ah, man.
It just seems like every week we get one or two things, right? That pop up and it's like, yes, we have something to talk about, but this is not what I want to be talking about, to
No.
be quite honest with you. Like, I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of looking up Brendan Ayuk images on Google for my next thumbnail. Like, I don't even want to make Brendan Ayuk my thumbnails anymore. Like, man, it's crazy. Yeah, I just want a resolution to all this, and hopefully we get one pretty soon.
And look, when I say I'm tired and I want a resolution, it doesn't mean that I want him gone. I still wholeheartedly believe that he's going to sign, right? And I sent out a tweet saying, that Ayuk extension notification is going to hit like a McDonald's Sprite. Like it's going to be fine, guys. Like, but I think I have fatigue now at this point. And I don't know if I remember feeling this fatigue with Debo Samuel, but I do want to point out that Debo Samuel was doing things just as annoying at that time, right? He's in the club, they're like Debo staying, and he's like no, and all this stuff. Like there was a lot of that stuff as well too. So I want to make sure we clarify that as well too. But I'm just over it, man. Like I would love to come on here and talk with you and talk about wide receiver preview or preview other things. But this unfortunately has to be discussed, even if we don't want to. And it's getting to a point now where the veterans, they report in exactly 14 days. And that's your soft deadline to get it done. And then this is going to bleed into training camp. I want this done one way or another.
Yeah. I think we're all tired of it. I'm seeing the fan frustration. Anytime there's like a new post about it now, you see fans starting to turn on Brandon Ayuk a bit in the replies of any of those posts, and I hate that part of it as well. So yeah, I think we're all just hoping for this to end. But on that note, Jay, like I think that's the end of the Brandon Ayuk talk
Yeah.
for
Well,
this
oh yeah,
show,
we're
right?
done. We're done. We're done. So an article
Wrap it
came
up.
out. Uh, wrap it up, man. Lock it up. An article came out on ESPN ranking all 32 teams with their under 25 talent, right? And the 49ers are one of the oldest teams in the NFL. And it's not because their core is necessarily old, right? Like Deebo Samuel's not old, Brandon Ayuk's not old, Christian McCaffrey, they're not old. It's some of the older guys like Trent Williams that kind of bring this number down a little bit further. But thought it was kind of interesting to figure out where the 49ers were actually ranked. And in 2023, they were ranked number 27 out of 32 with under 25 talent. And Rob's going to pull it up right here. So the blue chip players, obviously Brock Purdy, again, at 10 out of 10 it's a big hit. Notable graduated, that's fine. And it says, how much credit do we want to give the 49ers for Purdy? Based on his stats, Purdy might be the most valuable young asset in the game other than Stroud and Anderson for the Texans. In 2 seasons, he has thrown for 5,654 yards, 44 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions. After this season, Purdy will age out of this ranking. Other than Purdy and 24-year-old Jair Brown, not a lot of the young talent has been developed. Spencer Burford, 24, was near the bottom of the league in pass block win rate, 86.1, a season ago, and is not penciled in as a starter this year. Edge rusher Drake Jackson, 23. Drake Jackson's 23. That's crazy to think about
That
that.
is crazy.
Hasn't started a game in 2 years, although he has a reasonable total of 6 sacks in 23 games. Remember, 3 of those in the opening game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Instead, most of the 49ers' top young standouts are this year's receivers. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is older for a rookie, turning 24. Second-year cornerback Bernardo Green is 23. And third-round guard Dominic Pooney is 24. So, essentially, this has been a complaint around about developing young talent. Can you start right away? Does Kyle like starting guys right away? But when we looked at the way that this draft went, they weren't going for younger guys. They were going for those seasoned guys that were there 5 years and had played so long. Is there something to this in terms of a formula? Obviously, the 49ers win a ton of games, but is there something to this formula in terms of something that you think is sustainable?
I think like we've kind of talked about this in past shows before, that just the way the 49ers were drafting and maybe like the previous few years, not counting 2024, I think was problematic. And I think it has a lot to do with where they're ranked today. Let's be honest, if Brock Purdy wasn't in the picture, the 49ers probably get ranked like 30, 31st, 32nd
Right,
on this list, because Brock Purdy is carrying this ranking right here. And even
right,
with that, they're 23rd. So, yeah, I mean, when you look at their past drafts of recent years, it's a lot of dart throws. It's a lot of guys who could have high ceilings, could have potential, but like they never actually develop. And yeah, Drake Jackson being 23 is pretty crazy. So he is gonna, count on this list for quite some time, but he hasn't developed into anything. So until he proves to be something, I mean, he's kind of gonna be weighing this ranking down a bit, just like, they mentioned Spencer Burford as well. And so, really, the only thing that we can look forward to with the under 25 players on this team is guys like Jair Brown, Purdy, who, like they mentioned, after next year, like they're not going to be counted into this formula anymore anyway. And so, really, it's just the rookie class of 2024 that's going to be carrying this ranking probably going forward, which is, I think there's a lot of optimism in the current rookie class because, like you said, like they're more seasoned guys, they're guys with experience, and they seem NFL ready. That's what the 49ers need to do more of. Like I hope that was like the end of them drafting, dart throws and guys who didn't have a lot of experience, but they can mold. I mean, you don't have that much time to mold anyone. And it just didn't seem like the 49ers have the patience to mold that many players, especially like all at once. So I know we've had the discussion too, like, are the 49ers not that good at developing guys? And I guess like maybe the jury's still out on that. But yeah, for now, it is concerning, but hopefully the 2024 class is the beginning of a changing of the tide in their draft philosophies.
Yeah, and again, draft picks, it's everyone wants draft picks, but you have to draft the right guys, and there is a bit of development that has to go into it. It's a process, right? It's a very involved process in terms of you could have a guy who has all the skills and they don't pan out, or there's a guy that you weren't as high on that ends up showing out. And again, it just the draft process and the development process isn't as easy as all that. Just because you make the league doesn't mean you're going to stay there. Just because you're drafted in a certain place doesn't mean that you need to play like that type of player. So yeah, I thought it was interesting for this to come out, a little bit. And again, you're right. If Brock Purdy's not on this list, they're probably 32 at this point, right? And but you do have high hopes for Jair Brown. I do think that he is going
Yeah,
to be a very
right.
good football player, and that's something that whether this Talanoa Hufanga thing, I guess, resolves itself with where he's going to stay or if he's going to go, you still feel good about the position moving forward, and that's good. And Lenore is 24 as well too. So that also
Mm.
is a big hit, again, and he's been here what 2-3 years now. So that's a big hit as well too. And I don't know why that's not involved in that formula that they were talking about as well too. So like Demo's somebody that they have to prioritize and keep around because one, not only is he really good, he's really, really young. And 24, you can have him. That's really good. But speaking of safety, by the way, and I thought we should just mention this in passing. Tashawn Gibson was suspended 6 games for PEDs. And John Lynch did mention that they were going to keep contact with Tashawn Gibson. Steph, I want to float this out to you. 6 game suspension. Is it not a bad idea to bring Tashawn Gibson around, towards the middle of the season, or maybe just try to stash him on a practice squad?
Yeah, before we got this news that he got suspended, I was definitely expecting the 49ers to give him a call, like probably around training camp, maybe even after training camp to bring him on board. I mean, he's a veteran. He doesn't need a lot of he doesn't need all this camp stuff and the competition. But with Talanoa Funga being up in the air for week one, yeah, it would have definitely been a good asset to bring in Sean Gibson. Now, with the suspension, I mean, you don't know what the 49ers safety situation is going to look like 6 weeks into the season. The fact that he still wants to continue to play, I think obviously it makes sense for the 49ers to bring him on board after 6 weeks. But let's say everyone is healthy at that point, including Talanoa Hufanga, then maybe they pass. I could see them, just saying, "Hey, we're good." But if they have any injuries, yeah, I think they definitely make that call as soon as that suspension is over.
And I don't think it's a bad idea to be proactive and have somebody like that on your roster, right? Just
Yeah.
in case, because you don't want an injury to happen and then you go scrambling and then maybe another team blocks you from, so it's an interesting conversation because John Lynch did definitely mention that he was going to stay in contact with Tashawn Gibson. And he's somebody who it's so funny. We all just thought that he was going to be here as like a placeholder for Jimmy Ward. And he ended up knocking Jimmy Ward to the slot and just keeping the job. So, Kyle trusts his vets. You see last season they bring in Logan Ryan right after there's some injuries, right? Like I don't think you can sit around and wait for an injury. I think again, it's better to have him and not need him than to need him and not have him, in my opinion. Is that me or is that Steph? Well, I don't know if it's just me talking, but yeah, I just think that it wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure you bring him along, have him there. You have the veteran presence, you have somebody who can teach the younger guys. And again, he's just a failsafe in terms of what goes on with this team. If Hufunga's not ready, then you're fine with Brown and Gibson again because you ran that last season with those two. Hey, Rob.
We lost Steph. I don't know what happened.
I don't know, man. She probably put mayonnaise on her keyboard.
Can I just real quick? That's the
Yeah.
most psychopathic thing I think I've ever heard. Mayonnaise on a hot dog?
That's what I was saying. Like, I want to watch Long Legs, which is about, Nicolas Cage being a serial killer. I heard it's great, but I didn't know the serial killer was Steph. It's like a plot twist. It's like the end of the movie. You find out it was Steph all along.
I don't know what's happening with her right now. I'm trying to add her to the show so she can defend herself, but it's
No,
not
it's all
working.
right. Let her fight back. Well, if you want, Rob, you can pull up the PFF. There we go. There she is.
Steph, mayonnaise on a hot dog.
Not me catching strays while I'm gone.
I don't know if it was strays.
Yeah,
Stray sounds like those are indirect. He was shooting right at you.
Right. So I need
Rob, what the hell, man?
mayonnaise. You're the only person I've ever heard.
What is wrong with that? Like, that's not even controversial. I can't believe we're still talking about this.
Look, dude, Diego feels you in the chat. Mayo on hot dogs is okay. You're not alone, Steph. Look, you got an army.
If I went to the hot dog place and they were like, all right, here's your hot dog, here's your mayonnaise, I'd be like, what are you talking? I would run as fast as possible from that establishment.
Oh my God. That's so dramatic. Right. Like, it's not even that serious.
Let's get this show back on track.
I swear it's not that serious.
All right, Rob. So I think we should have went into this right after we were talking about Brandon Ayuk, but PFF came out with an article about who is ranking the top wide receivers by open target rate from 2023, meaning who's wide open when the ball is getting thrown. And we all hear everything about Kyle Shanahan's system. Guys are running wide open all the time. You know, it's not really easy. It's not really hard to play quarterback. Blah 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 blah. Because Brad Purdy has one of the highest tight window throw rates in the league, and it's only I think you're still there. There's only one 49er wide receiver on this top 10 list. Steph, do you want to guess which wide receiver it is of the three?
My internet froze, so I don't. Yeah. Which one are we talking about? The
open target rate on PFF. The open target rate.
Well, I did read the article.
Yeah, no. But I mean, all right. So let's just say you didn't.
Yeah,
you get a chance to choose from Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall, all these guys. I mean, which one of the 49ers receivers is on this list?
I would have expected Brandon Ayuk to be on this list.
Aha. He is not. Neither is Deebo Samuel. It is one Jawan Jennings.
Crazy.
So on 42 targets, he was open 36 times, 85.7% open target rate. Now, I want to preface this by saying this is a small sample size. If Jawan Jennings was running more routes, this number is likely to go down. But Jennings ranked 5th on the 49ers in target rate, 16.8, catching 29 passes for 376 yards. He stepped up in the postseason, gaining 8 first downs on 10 catches while leading the team in passer rating when targeted 133. The 5th-year receiver enters training camp set to battle rookies Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing for slot duties in 2024. Steph, the people that are around him, let's go through this list. Number 1, Khalif Raymond from Detroit. He has the same amount of targets. Again, sample size matters. So, doesn't mean that Khalif Raymond is a breakout wide receiver. It means that when Sam Laporte is on the field with Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're not paying attention to Khalif Raymond. And this is not me, knocking down Jawan Jennings. But when you're on the field with all these guys, Jawan Jennings has a better chance of getting himself open. Still shocking to see him on this list. Number 2, Wan'Dale Robinson. Number 3, Khalil Shakir, who I think is ready to break out. Rashee Rice, number 4, who broke out at the end of last year. Zay Flowers from Baltimore. Cooper Kupp, number 6. Nelson Aguilar, number 7. Jerry Jeudy, number 8. And Elijah Moore behind Jawan Jennings. Steph, how shocked are you to see 3rd and Jawan here on this list and not Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, as I was reading through this, I was shocked by a lot of names that were on this list. And I think it does have a lot to do with, one, the sample size, like you said. But I think also you got to remember a lot of these guys are facing the 3rd best corners most of the time that they're out there. And yeah, when you're looking at the other guys that are on the field at the same time, when they're the 3rd receiver going out there, then yeah, it does make a lot of sense. So this is cool for Jennings to get on there and know that he could get over.
Oh, not again. Oh, there we go.
Oh, did I freeze again?
Yeah, okay. You're good.
To know that, Jennings is the wide receiver 3 on this team. So his job is to get open against their best corners. So if he could do that, and clearly he's doing it well, I mean, that's a pretty good sign, even though all around, not just like the amount of routes run, but the targets, it is a small sample size for him. Who knows? Maybe this means the 49ers should do more 3 wide, 4 wide receiver sets.
Maybe. But Kyle Shanahan's going to listen to this and say, I don't care what you say, man.
Not
I'm
on
going
my
to do whatever I
watch.
want. I don't care what you think, man. But shout out to Juwan Jennings. And obviously this team values him because we all kind of assumed that he was going to be the odd man out with these draft picks. But he seems like the one who's staying with the 2-year deal that's guaranteed. It seems like either Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk is the odd man out now at this point. But they really love what Juwan Jennings does. And they understand that other teams were going to value what he did, so they locked him up. I think, again, when we talk about development of rookies, 7th round pick, and he turns into this, that's a hit, in my opinion. That's a hit. That's one of those that's a hit, you know? So we talk about, hey, can they develop? Look at Juwan Jennings. That's not a bad haul for somebody who redshirted his first year and turns into one of these guys that's going to be wanted all over the league and can contribute in this way, especially in clutch moments for the 49ers. Remember, he's a few minutes away from being the Super Bowl MVP, it looked like. I mean, he was just everywhere. and he probably would have had another touchdown, if whatever. I don't want to talk about that, actually. Let's just not talk about that. Okay. It's the offseason stuff. There's a lot of dead time right now, right? Like for people to come up with think pieces, come up with numbers and things like that. Well, there was something that kind of caught my eye, and it was from NFL.com, and it's a guy named Chad Reuter, who is their draft analyst. And he did a 7-round mock draft with players from now. So the talent pool is open. Every single player is on the board with rookies. And I want to go over real quick just the notes of this and how this works. Teams are listed based on the first-round order from the 2024 NFL Draft, restoring traded or forfeited picks to the original holders. This draft is snake, just like your Dynasty Superflex Fantasy Football League. It's snake because now you can get like an overhaul of talent. Round 1, and then it'll reverse 2, and then 3, and no trades or anything like that. Okay, so that means the Carolina Panthers are up first. The Washington Commanders are up second, just like the same draft order that you saw in this NFL draft. Well, surprise, surprise, the first 14 picks are quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes to the Panthers, Josh Allen to the Commanders, Joe Burrow to the Patriots, Lamar Jackson to Arizona, Justin Herbert for some reason lands right back with the Chargers. Poor guy, he can't get away from them. Dak Prescott to New York Giant, CJ Stroud is the Titan, Jalen Hurts goes to the Falcons, Aaron Rodgers goes to the Bears. Jared Goff goes to the Jets. Matthew Stafford goes to the Vikings. Brock Purdy goes to the Denver Broncos. Number 12. Jordan Love, 13, to the Raiders. 14, Trevor Lawrence. And then 15 is Myles Garrett, followed by Tua Tagovailoa with Seattle. The San Francisco 49ers get their pick at 31, and they draft Devontae Adams from Las Vegas. And the notice, Adams may be entering his 11th season, but he's still an elite receiver who can lift the team with his presence. Funny enough, the pick right before, Jamar Chase to Baltimore. Travis Kelce goes back to Kansas City. What do you think about the 49ers bringing in Devontae Adams in this 7-round mock wild draft?
Can we talk about Brock Purdy going before Jordan Love
to
and
Denver?
Trevor
Yeah,
Lawrence?
100%. The first 49er off the board was Brock Purdy.
I like that. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense. A lot of the quarterbacks go first. But yeah, for the 49ers, Devontae Adams, I'm not mad at that. I mean, he's basically a more seasoned veteran Brandon Ayuk, a better Brandon Ayuk. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that for the 49ers. Now, do we feel like that is that big of a need for the 49ers, though, to be picking at 31? Because this is a win now draft, right?
Right.
So do we feel like that's the biggest need for the 49ers to win now? I don't know. I don't know if I think I'd argue against that.
So I don't know the methodology of what they're doing, like in terms of, is this best player available, or is this just like, you're addressing a need? But it was Devontae Adams with the first one. Second pick is Sauce Gardner.
I love that.
That's amazing, right?
I love that.
Sauce Gardner, right? And then you got to find a way to replace George Kittle. So how do you replace George Kittle but get another Iowa tight end and Sam Laporta? Okay. So we're cooking 2 and 3. We're cooking here.
I like
Round
that.
4 is where you lose me. Bo Nix from Oregon is completely where you lose me in this one. It is completely where you lose me. I believe the notes from Reuter, and no disrespect at all, I just respectfully disagreeing. He says Shanahan's scheme lifts everybody up, and the difference between Bo Nix and Brock Purdy isn't much. Sorry.
Oh no.
Yes,
Oh, no.
sorry. I do not agree. I
Womp
actually vehemently disagree with that. Look, Bo Nix could be a great quarterback one day. He could. He could absolutely be a great quarterback one day. I am taking Brock Purdy 10 out of 10 times. There's no way that I'm going to sit here and say Bo Nix can do what Brock Purdy can do. No. In fact, the Bo Nix selection when Denver took him was widely viewed as a reach. Widely. Now look, reach is a relative, meaning like it looks bad now, but if Bo Nix turns into their franchise quarterback, then they nailed the pick. And it doesn't matter when you took him. But largely, that was viewed as a reach because of the way the Vikings moved and they got J.J. McCarthy. But I really want to push back on this idea that there's not much of a difference between Brock Purdy and Bo Nix, even though we haven't seen Bo Nix play one snap yet.
That is criminal, I think. And I'm so tired of that narrative that like
Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it. Like we've seen bad quarterbacks, low talent quarterbacks be on this team, and they haven't done much of anything with Kyle Shanahan as the scheme guy and all this. So
if anybody could do it, then Nick Mullins would still be here. If anybody could do it, then CJ Beathard would have panned out. If anybody could do it, Jimmy Garoppolo would still be here.
Ooh, yeah. And I just don't like that because, like, it takes away from Brock Purdy and what he's done, who, by the way, was number 12 to be selected in this draft. So clearly he's doing something right. Jay, Mr. Kirk Cousins was 44, right? He went pick 44 to the Dolphins.
I don't see. All right.
Would you have swapped?
Yeah.
Let's just say, would you have swapped Kirk Cousins in any one of those first two picks that the 49ers had?
I don't see how, if this is a win now draft and Kyle Shanahan is involved and Kirk Cousins is on the board, that they take Devontae Adams and let Kirk Cousins slide.
He raged so hard.
Yeah, it's so, you know what's crazy is because it's Snake, you can get Devontae Adams and then you can get Sauce. What if you took Sauce and then Kirk?
Yeah.
Do that. I'd rather do that.
That's what I'm saying. Because like Devontae Adams, I don't see as like a crazy need. Now, you want to talk about what Kyle does for the scheme and for players. I think a lot of wide receivers could be successful. Now, I'm not saying all wide receivers because we've seen some not be successful in this offense, but I think that's where you could probably, you could probably get a wide receiver in the 4th round of this, hypothetical draft and still be okay and productive. But you need a quarterback. You need a better quarterback than Bo Nix. I tell you that.
And if this is win now, Bo Nix starting right away with this new team, with this new nucleus, which is right now we're 4 rounds in, and you've got Devontae Adams and Sam Laporta. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. Those are some good weapons.
Oh, yeah.
But Bo Nix isn't gonna lift this team to a win now status if that's what the parameters of this draft is about. If you're trying to going by best player available on the board, Kirk Cousins is better than Bo Nix today, tomorrow, every Sunday, right? Like I get it. Like whatever, like you're like whatever. Kirk Cousins wears socks with thong sandals. That's fine. All that's fine. Like I get
Not
that.
The thong sandals, man.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he does. But Kirk Cousins is better than Bo Nix. I can say that. That's pretty easy. Now, will he be better than Bo Nix down the line? That remains to be seen. But today, Kirk Cousins is better than him. And if you're building a win now roster, I don't see how you get to Bo Nix there at 4 on the 4th round. Anyway, regardless, there's a run of 49ers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the 3rd round, where it's literally like Trent, Ayuk, Kittle, all of them, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like in a row, like enough, like right there. So,
a second round.
Second round, right? So,
Trent,
Ayuk, and then I think after one pick, it's like Kittle. So like all the 49ers were going. There's your 49ers run right there. And again, goes to show you how much the 49ers are valued across the league. So after that, Rashawn Gary in the 5th round. Rashawn Gary hasn't played his best football yet, right? And that's what I think he's saying. And I'll be honest, I wasn't huge on Rashawn Gary in terms of, with the Michigan tape, because there would be games where he would just have no impact. Like I didn't even know he was playing. But I think he was still a little raw, and he definitely had a better season last year with Green Bay. So there's your edge rusher, right? They think that Rashawn Gary's there. Patrick Queen number 6 in round 6.
I like
That's a really good one, man. Like, look, you're not going to replace Fred. You're not replacing Fred. But, man, Patrick Queen that's not a bad consolation prize, right?
Yeah, they got back on track in my good graces after the Bo Nix pick. I like the Patrick Queen pick a lot, especially in the 6th round of this hypothetical draft. I think that's pretty solid.
And round 7, Rashee Rice. So your weapons are Adams, Rashee Rice, and Sam Laporta. Man, that's not bad. And again, there's running backs to be signed in this free agency and everything. And you've got to. So what's funny about this is that it's 7 rounds, but if you have to fill out the rest of this team, you got to go digging and signing a bunch of people. So again, hypothetical, just a lot of fun, just trying to pass the time when it comes to this. But the 49ers end up with Devontae Adams, Sauce Gardner, Sam Laporta, Bo Nix, Rashawn Gary, Patrick Queen, and Rashee Rice. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Can't really ask for a little bit more than that. Some other teams, the Philadelphia Eagles end up with CeeDee Lamb, Justin Madubuike, Tyler Smith, Bryce Young, Darius Williams, Dallas Turner, and TJ Hawkinson. That's not bad at all either, actually. I'm trying to figure out who got the best draft off, actually. Poor Justin Herbert just ending up with the Chargers again. Here's one. The Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce, Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Mooney Ward, Morgan Moses, Malik Neighbors, George Karlaftis. They bring back 2 guys that are currently on their team, and then Mooney.
That's not fair.
That's not a bad team, man. Why did the Chiefs know how to draft so well, huh?
Even in hypotheticals.
Even in hypotheticals, you're still walking away with high-end players. But, yeah, I thought it was fun to talk about this. A lot of people were really upset, like, in the comments about it. They were like, what a stupid article. I'm like, guy, we got to, like, fill the time somehow, right? There's nothing else. Like, you want me to write another article about Brandon Ayuk talking on TikTok? Like, it's literally,
no.
like.
Please. No.
All right.
Make it stop.
Make it stop. All right. One more article to talk about that I thought was really interesting. Gennaro Felice from NFL.com, he was predicting the top offenses in 2024. Now, the 49ers had the number 1 scoring offense in the league, 28.4. Now, again, 28.4 doesn't just mean offense. It means defensive touchdowns. All those things count. Right? It's not just how many points your offense scores. So if you get a pick 6, it goes to your points per game. We got to make sure we have that in there. So the 49ers were number 1, 28.4. Baltimore and Miami, 27.5, which is crazy to me because Miami scores 70 points in a game. I would have thought that would have skewed their numbers drastically. Dallas scored 27 a game. Detroit was 26.6. Buffalo, 25.3. Philadelphia, 24.1. The Rams, 23.5 at number 8. The Saints scored 22.4. At 9 and 22.1 for the Cleveland Browns. But Gennaro Felice believes that the 49ers are going to repeat as the number 1 offense. And he has something that he says, signature strength and signature weakness. So, Steph, the strength is Kyle Shanahan's scheme, and the weakness is Kyle Shanahan's scheme. Let me explain. Yeah, now let me explain. And this is the narrative that we thought was busted last season. Essentially, what Gennaro is saying is the signature strength is Kyle Shanahan's scheme because it is the blueprint of the modern offense in the NFL. And it has been highly successful, and they have all of these weapons, and they generate so many points and explosives from the run game, from screens, from play action, all of those things, right? But here we go. The narrative's back. Worrying weakness, Kyle Shanahan's scheme when trailing. One consistent knock on Shanahan, he can't lead a comeback. The basic thinking goes that his offensive system runs great when San Francisco's in control of the game, but when the 49ers fall behind and are forced out of their comfort zone, the attack stalls. Now, seeing how the Niners just overcame a 17-point halftime deficit to beat the Lions, this narrative isn't exactly airtight. Though this pesky statistic lives on, under Shanahan, San Francisco is 0-38 when trailing by 8+ points in the fourth quarter. That's admittedly a little convoluted, but it's not nothing. Steph, I thought we got rid of this last season, but again, the goalposts move. You win, you come back from 7. Well, you got to come back from 8. You come back from 8.
Now it's 8+.
Right. Well, you got to come back from 8. Well, now you got to come back from 9. Well, you come back from 9. Well, you haven't come back from 10. I thought we got rid of this. I thought the only narrative that we have with Kyle Shanahan that hasn't been knocked down is the Super Bowl one. This is back.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm so tired of this one because yeah, it just seems like the goalpost does continue to move on this one. And I get it. Like he has to have a strength and a weakness for every team on this ranking. And so maybe it's just him reaching for a weakness for the 49ers because otherwise, I mean, honestly, like what weakness would you say? Other than like they haven't won a Super Bowl.
Offensive line.
Yeah, but like in terms of like them scoring, because this was a ranking on scoring, right? So it's like
right, but he was talking about the strength, which was
offense.
the scheme, right? So the weakness, I would say the weakness is the offensive line, and he kind of outlines it in the strength portion. While the offensive line beyond first team All-Pro Trent Williams still leaves something to be desired, Shanahan routinely schemes around it. This is a well-oiled machine with premium parts and a deft designer. That's the part. That's the only thing. That's the only thing is it would be offensive line, right? Every year, this offense, regardless, they squeeze the most that they can out of this team, regardless of who the quarterback is. They maximize their offense and they maximize their efficiency. Now, different quarterbacks raise that ceiling of efficiency, and that's what we're seeing with Brock Purdy. But the offensive line constantly has to be something that you're going around, right? And that's the part that I think is probably the weakness, not the scheme when trailing. I mean, he won a divisional game from behind. He won a NFC Championship game from behind. I don't see this one still being a narrative. This one doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, to me it isn't anymore, right? So if you want to continue to move the goalpost to be, okay, now it's 8+, I guess you're just forcing yourself for that to be a narrative that's going to continue, but I don't think it is. And yeah, I mean, I think it's fitting that the 49ers were the top ranked offense on this list for 2024, especially the fact that they were in 2023. I mean, this is an offense full of dogs and guys who could score from anywhere since 2021. I saw this yesterday on X. Since 2021, Debo is tied with Derrick Henry for the most rushing touchdowns from outside the 10-yard line. Debo was the only wide receiver on that list. Christian McCaffrey was, I think he had 7 touchdowns. Debo had 10. So, yeah, you got those guys who could score from anywhere. Juwan Jennings, who is apparently like he could get open anywhere. Brandon Ayuk, also a chain mover. Kittle. Brock Purdy, the face of quarterback efficiency since he became the 49ers starter. So to me, like the bringing up the weaknesses and that weakness being that Kyle can't win from behind, this team can't win from behind. That's just like casual talk to me, especially at this point. Cause like,
right.
I think I could see at one point in time where that was a valid thing that people could say. Now it's like, no, they've already debunked that a few times. And so I think a few times and it being that large of a deficit that they came back from should be enough to completely debunk it and it no longer be a thing. So I don't know. This one, that just seemed a little casual to me.
And Tyler says, do you know what, Jason, the talking heads consider it still a narrative because we haven't won a world championship? And yeah, all that goes away, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're blowing a team out, you don't have to come back, right? Like it's funny because when the 49ers win big, they're just like, oh, whatever. Or if there's a comeback, oh, you should have lost. And Rob pointed that out, right? It's funny to me with all this stuff. I don't want to talk about Kyle Shanahan not being able to come back because he's done it in 2 of the biggest moments. He didn't have to come back in the Super Bowl. I guess if you want to talk about something, it's can Kyle Shanahan hold leads? Particularly against the Kansas City Chiefs, right? But we did see in the NFC Championship game, the 49ers weren't able to hold the lead against the Rams. That might be more of a discussion than the trailing, the comeback thing. Because now we've got back-to-back instances. So is that more of a narrative than the whole he can't come back thing? Is the big game holding a lead thing is a little bit more of probably a narrative, I would say, that has more legs.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe that which they kind of go hand in hand. Like I could see how maybe like some of the underlying issues with this offense could contribute to both of those things having been true at, different points in time. And right now, yeah, I could see that being a thing for the 49ers and for Kyle. And so I'm fine with that one being a narrative because it'd be more true
Because
than
that
the
has
other
legs.
ones.
That at
Exactly.
least has legs. Like you can't keep saying something about someone when they've already disproven it. Right. And you can't just keep moving the goalpost back over and over. Well, you came back from 7. Well, I need to see you come back from 8. It's the same sort of
Yeah,
thing
like
that was
that's
happening.
ridiculous.
It's the same thing that was happening with Brock last year. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you beat this team on the road and you came back, but I need you to beat the 86 Bears or the 85 Bears on Mars. Like you just keep moving it back and back and back. It's like when you do it, that's it. Knock it off. Right. But if there is something they haven't done, that's when it has legs. But for you to continue to push a narrative that now has kind of been debunked because you've seen it happen 2 times, there's a narrative right there in front of you. There's 2 of them. Kyle hasn't been able to finish the big game. And at times in the big game, Kyle hasn't been able to hold the lead. And how much of that has to do with execution, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when a coach wins, he gets all the praise. When a coach loses, he gets all the blame. It's just part of the job, right? At the end of the day, everyone's going to look at you and point to you and say, what happened? And you could say, well, they missed a block on here. That's on you. You have to have them prepared, right? So again, that narrative, I think, is just out the window. But if you want to talk about narratives that still have legs, it's the holding a lead in the big game 1 and finishing in the Super Bowl. Now, number 2 is the Kansas City Chiefs on this list, and their biggest strength is the best player in football. Man, must be nice. Must be real nice. You can give them some mailman and some postman as wide receivers, and bam, you're fine. The Detroit Lions are number 3. They're very good as well, too. And I think that's the team that is nipping at the Niners' heels more than anybody in the NFC right now is the Lions. The Rams are number 4. This one's interesting. The Rams are number 4, and I saw Jim Everett in here. That's why I know his ears are going to perk up when he hears this. So the Rams are number 4, signature strength, and elite coach quarterback combo. Matthew Stafford was very good last year. And Sean McVay's a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
Worrying weakness, is Cooper Kupp still elite? Here's a question, and I know this isn't a Rams podcast, but real quick. Is Puka Nacua the number 1 wide receiver in Los Angeles, and Cooper Kupp's not?
Streets are saying it's a 1A, 1B situation, and
It's
I
a
think
good problem
1A. I think 1A is Puka right now.
Puka's a dog. He's a dog. So that was interesting to me, right? But again, Stafford had an incredible year last year, even if the numbers aren't exactly his the best seasons that he's had in Detroit or even in Los Angeles. Some of those throws were amazing that he put on tape. But Gennaro Felice absolutely believes that the 49ers are going to be the number 1 offense. Hard to bet against that with all these weapons. As soon as Brandon Ayuk locks it in, then we can feel really good about that. But the worrying weakness to him is Kyle Shanahan and comebacks, which I think we're kind of pushing back on.
Yeah, I guess we don't have any worries.
No.
If that's the worry, there aren't any worries.
Right. If it's a little too quiet around here and everything's going too well, when's the dagger going to come, man? Who's going to pull the rug out from under us? But hey, thank you guys for tuning in. This is another episode of Bully Ball. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network, wherever you get your audio podcast. Follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. We both have a YouTube channel, too. If you want to check that out and subscribe, that would be pretty cool. Send some likes our ways on those videos. But for Steph, for Jay, we'll see you next time. Training camp's almost here.
Peace.